Have you ever wondered why the storms in your life seem relentless? Why the pressure never seems to let up? It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you are carrying something powerful, something heaven appointed and hell opposed. You're anointed, and that anointing makes you dangerous. The attacks on your life are not random. They are strategic. The enemy doesn't waste bullets on blanks. He only aims at loaded weapons, and you, my friend, are fully loaded with purpose, calling, and destiny. That's why the warfare has been intense. That's why people have betrayed you. That's why doors slammed in your face. Because you carry something the enemy fears. You've been wondering why life feels like a battlefield. Every time you take one step forward, something pushes you 2 steps back. Every time you decide to rise, something tries to pull you down. Let me tell you something that will change the way you see every single attack coming your way. It's not happening because you're weak, cursed, or forgotten. It's happening because you're carrying something powerful, something dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. The reason attacks keep coming is simple. You are anointed, and that anointing makes you a threat. You see, the enemy doesn't waste resources on empty vessels. He doesn't waste his arrows on someone who poses no risk to his agenda. The very fact that you've been under relentless pressure is the loudest evidence that you have been marked for greatness. You have been chosen for something significant, something that heaven celebrates and hell fears. That's why the battles in your life feel so personal, because they are. They're not random accidents. They are strategic assaults meant to derail you before you fully step into who you were born to be. Think about it. Have you noticed how people who settle for average rarely get attacked? The enemy doesn't fight what he's not afraid of. He leaves the complacent alone because they're no threat to his plans. But you've been called to disrupt the norm. You've been called to shift atmospheres, break generational curses, open doors for others, and carry a light so bright that it exposes every bit of darkness around you. That's why you're in the fire. That's why you've been betrayed. That's why doors slammed in your face. It's because your very presence carries an assignment that makes the enemy nervous. And here's the truth most people don't understand. The heavier the anointing, the greater the attacks. Some of you thought when God blessed you, life would get easier. You thought favor meant freedom from storms. But the reality is the opposite. Your anointing attracts adversity. Because the enemy knows if you ever realize who you are and what you carry, he won't be able to stop you. So he throws everything at you, distractions, delays, disappointments, hoping you'll give up before the breakthrough comes. Don't miss this. The fight isn't about your past. It's about your future. It's about what's inside you. There is something on your life so valuable, so dangerous to the kingdom of darkness that hell decided you were worth a full-scale attack. That should tell you something about your worth. That should tell you something about your calling. That should tell you that what you're carrying isn't ordinary. And think back, why do you think you've survived things that should have destroyed you? Why do you think you've come through battles that broke others? Because the anointing on your life refused to let you die in the middle of the fight. That oil on you is not just symbolic, it's power, authority, and divine assignment. And the enemy sees it even when you doubt it. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every time you wondered if you were going to make it, that wasn't wasted. It was proof. Proof that you are dangerous. Proof that you have been marked. Proof that the attack is confirmation, not condemnation. You've been asking yourself, why does it feel like I'm always swimming against the current? Why does everything seem harder for me than for others? Here's the truth you need to hear. Resistance is not rejection. It's proof of your assignment. Every ounce of opposition you're facing is a direct confirmation that your life is too important for the enemy to leave unchecked. If you weren't called, you wouldn't be attacked. If you weren't chosen, you wouldn't be resisted. Pay attention to the patterns. Every time you step into a new season, something tries to pull you back. Every time you decide to grow, life tries to shrink you. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. The enemy doesn't waste energy on those who pose no threat to his plans. He reserves his fiercest battles for those who carry influence, power, and purpose. That means if your life feels like an uphill climb, you're climbing because the peak is worth it. And here's the key. Opposition comes to test your conviction. It asks, do you really believe what you say you believe? Are you really committed to the calling you claim to have? You see, dreams are easy to declare, but they're tested in the fire. Anybody can say they're called when life is calm, but it takes someone dangerous to stand firm when storms come. That's why resistance shows up. It's a mirror that reflects your determination. Have you noticed how resistance often increases right before you step into something significant? That's not random. That's a pattern in every great story. Before breakthrough comes, pressure mounts. Before doors open, opposition rises. It's the enemy's last attempt to make you quit before you cross the line. Because he knows if you cross, it's over for him. He knows if you endure this, you'll be unstoppable. So he sends resistance, hoping you'll misinterpret it as God closing the door instead of realizing it's hell trying to block your way. Let this sink in. The devil only invests in blocking what he knows he cannot own. He cannot own your destiny. So he fights to discourage you from walking in it. He uses resistance to whisper lies. You're not good enough. You're not qualified. If this were really for you, it would be easier. But easy roads don't lead to greatness. Smooth paths never produce warriors. If there's resistance, it's because there's value on the other side. And resistance isn't just external. It shows up internally too. Doubt, fear, anxiety, that's resistance in disguise. Every negative thought trying to convince you to settle, every voice telling you to quit, it's all part of the fight to keep you from unlocking the level you were built for. That's why you feel the tension so deeply. That's why your mind feels like a battlefield, because your assignment isn't ordinary. Ordinary people don't deal with extraordinary opposition. So every time you face resistance, flip the script. Instead of saying, why me? Start asking, what is it about my future that the enemy is so afraid of? Because if you weren't carrying something dangerous, the fight wouldn't exist. Opposition is a signpost. It's pointing to destiny. It's the enemy's way of saying, I know you're close to something big and I can't let you have it without a fight. You've been walking through the fire and wondering why it burns so intensely. You've questioned if you did something wrong, if God has forgotten you, if the pain you're feeling has any purpose at all. But here's the truth that will flip your perspective. The fire you're in wasn't sent to destroy you, it was sent to refine you. It's shaping you for the level you've been praying for. It's building the strength you'll need to carry the weight of the destiny you've been asking for. Look at what fire does. Fire doesn't just heat things up, it separates what's pure from what's weak. When gold goes into the fire, it's not because the jeweler hates the gold, it's because he sees value in it. He knows there's something precious inside that needs to come forth, but the impurities have to go. And that's exactly what's happening in your life. Flames you feel, they're burning off everything that can't go with you into the next season. Every false relationship, every wrong mindset, every ounce of pride, doubt, and fear, fire is stripping it away so the real you can emerge. Now let me hit you with this. The hotter the fire, the more valuable the gold. If your season feels intense, that's because your value is high. Ordinary materials can't withstand this kind of heat. Straw burns instantly. Wood turns to ashes. But gold survives. And after it survives, it shines brighter than ever before. So the fact that you're still standing, even when life turned up the heat, is proof that you are not ordinary. You were built for the flames. You were built to handle the pressure that others would crumble under. And here's what makes it harder. Fire is lonely. People who don't understand your process will walk away because they can't take the heat that surrounds your life. Some people left you because they weren't meant to go where you're headed. Don't misread their exit as your failure. It was necessary for your refinement. The fire reveals who's real. It exposes who can stay and who has to go. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels unfair. But in the end, the ones who remain will be the ones who are assigned to your destiny. Have you noticed how the fire seems to come right after a big promise? That's not coincidence. It's preparation. You prayed for more strength and God gave you resistance to build it. You asked for greater faith and God gave you a storm to stretch it. You asked for influence and God gave you pressure to prepare your character for the weight of the platform. You see, the fire is an answer to your prayers. It's just not packaged the way you expected. And think about this. Fire changes form. It takes something raw and unfinished and turns it into something polished and unbreakable. That's what's happening to you right now. Every tear you've cried in the heat. Every night you've felt the burn. Every time you've wanted to quit. Those moments are forming a version of you that can't be shaken, can't be broken, can't be stopped. Because what goes through fire and survives cannot go back to what it was before. You've been wondering why life feels like a constant fight. Why do attacks seem to follow you no matter where you go? Why does the pressure keep increasing when you're just trying to do the right thing? Let me give you the revelation that changes everything. Your anointing makes you dangerous to darkness. The oil on your life is not decoration, it's a declaration. It's heaven's announcement that you have been set apart for divine purpose. And the moment that oil touched your life, hell took notice. You didn't choose this fight. The fight chose you the day God marked you. Before the anointing, you were just another face in the crowd. But now you carry something that shifts atmospheres. You carry authority the demons recognize. That's why the attacks feel personal, because they are. The enemy isn't after your house, your job, or your reputation. He's after your oil. He's after the assignment tied to that oil. Because if you ever walk fully in it, every chain he's worked so hard to keep locked will break in an instant. Let me break it down. Anointing is spiritual weight. It's the ability to influence realms seen and unseen. And when you carry that, you cannot live a normal life. Normal rules don't apply to you because your life isn't common. It's consecrated. That's why you can't fit in no matter how hard you try. That's why some people walked away. That's why some relationships couldn't last. They weren't rejecting you. They were reacting to the oil you carry. And here's what makes the enemy furious. Your anointing is not just for you, it's for everyone connected to you. When you step into your calling, you break chains for your family. You shift cycles for your bloodline. You set captives free without even realizing it. That's why the enemy sends attacks so early, so often, and so violently. Because he knows you're a deliverer in disguise. He knows you carry solutions for people still bound. And if you ever wake up to the truth of what's inside you, hell won't stand a chance. Have you noticed how heavy life feels when you're anointed? That's because the oil carries weight. It carries responsibility. And the heavier the oil, the heavier the opposition. But don't miss this. The heavier the oil, the greater the power. You've been walking through pressure that others couldn't handle because the assignment on your life demands a level of strength they don't need. That's why you've survived attacks that should have killed you. That's why you've endured storms that broke others, because the anointing comes with divine endurance to match its weight. The enemy studies your life because he sees what you often overlook. You are a walking threat to his kingdom. Your prayers can shift nations. Your words can speak life where death was ruling. Your worship can tear down strongholds. That's not ordinary. That's supernatural authority flowing through an anointed vessel. And every time you open your mouth, every time you take a step in obedience, every time you refuse to quit when hell throws its best shot, you're proving just how dangerous you are. So the question isn't why you're being attacked, it's why you haven't recognized what you carry. Because the oil is not just a title or a feeling. It's power that makes demons tremble. It's authority that makes chains. And it's the one thing the enemy knows he cannot stop. So all he can do is distract, discourage, and delay. But even then, the oil still flows. You've been asking yourself why the battles are getting bigger, why the challenges feel heavier than ever before. You thought the fight would get easier as you grew stronger. But now the giant standing in front of you seems more intimidating than anything you've ever faced. Here's the truth you need to hear. Goliath only shows up when you're ready for the throne. Giants don't appear in your life because you're weak. They appear because you've stepped into a level that requires a new demonstration of your strength, your faith, and your authority. Think about it. Goliath wasn't in David's life when he was tending sheep in the field. Goliath didn't show up when David was anonymous, when no one knew his name, when he wasn't a threat. The giant appeared when David was about to be elevated, when the next chapter of his destiny was about to unfold. That's the same pattern playing out in your life. The size of your current battle is a prophecy about the size of your coming breakthrough. The greater the giant, the greater the glory waiting on the other side. Here's what you need to understand. Giants are gatekeepers. They stand at the threshold of your next dimension, and their presence is proof that you're close. If you weren't near promotion, the giant wouldn't even notice you. If you weren't about to step into influence, that massive obstacle wouldn't be in your way. So when the battle gets big, don't panic. That's confirmation that elevation is near. And let's be real, the appearance of Goliath can feel overwhelming. He's loud, intimidating, and strategic. He knows how to plant fear before the fight even begins. That's why giants shout before they swing. They talk first because they want to paralyze you with fear before you even pick up your weapon. And that's exactly what the enemy has been doing in your life, trying to use fear, doubt, and discouragement to make you surrender before the battle even starts. But giants aren't as invincible as they look. They are big, yes, but they are not unbeatable. Every giant has a weakness, and God has already placed in your hands what you need to take it down. Don't miss this. David didn't need Saul's armor to win. He didn't need the tools the world said were necessary. He walked into the fight with what he had, because what he had was enough when God's hand was on it. The same goes for you. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Stop thinking you need more money, more connections, more experience before you can face your giant. What you already carry, the faith, the courage, the obedience is enough to bring down what looks impossible. And let's talk about why giants show up in the first place. They're not there to destroy you. They're there to announce you. When David killed Goliath, his name went from unknown to celebrated in a single day. One giant shifted his entire story, and that's what this battle is going to do for you. The giant in front of you isn't a sign that God has abandoned you. It's a sign that God is about to reveal you. Giants show up because the throne is near and their defeat is the key to your promotion. So don't let the size of the battle intimidate you. Let it inspire you. Because the presence of a giant means the season of small victories is over. It means God is trusting you with a fight that will open doors no man can shut. You've come too far to turn back now. You've fought through too many storms, survived too many nights when quitting seemed easier than pressing on. You've cried tears no one saw, carried burdens no one understood, and endured battles no one gave you credit for. And yet here you are still standing. That alone is proof that you are built for this. But the truth you need to hold on to right now is this. Your victory is inevitable as long as you refuse to quit. The enemy's greatest weapon isn't destruction. It's discouragement. He knows he can't take your destiny, so he tries to convince you to give it up willingly. He whispers, "What's the point? You've been fighting too long. Nothing's changing. He wants you tired, drained, and ready to wave the white flag. But what he doesn't want you to know is that the pressure you feel right now means you are closer to breakthrough than you've ever been. The darkest night always comes before the dawn. The heaviest weight presses down right before the release. That's not a cliche. That's a spiritual principle. Think about it. If your victory wasn't guaranteed, the enemy wouldn't waste time on you. He's not fighting you because you're weak. He's fighting you because you're moments away from walking into something that will change everything. And he knows that the only way to stop you is to make you stop yourself. That's why the opposition feels relentless. That's why it seems like everything is hitting at once: your finances, your relationships, your peace of mind. Because the enemy knows if you keep moving, nothing in hell can hold you back. This is where endurance matters. Endurance isn't about speed, it's about stamina. It's about the ability to keep going when everything in you says stop. And here's the thing, endurance is forged in the struggle. Every time you chose to keep going when it hurt, every time you wiped your tears and got back up, you were building the muscle that will carry you into victory. The devil thought that storm would break you, but all it did was make you stronger. And let me hit you with this: your future self is going to thank you for not quitting today. Every time you feel like giving up, picture the version of you on the other side of this battle, standing in victory, living the promise, holding what you prayed for. That version of you is real. And the only thing standing between you and that reality is the decision to keep going, not to win it all in one day. Not to figure it all out at once, just to refuse to quit. Have you noticed how the pressure has been intensifying lately? That's not because you're failing, it's because you're winning. The enemy doesn't turn up the heat on people who are going nowhere. He turns it up on people who are seconds from breakthrough. So if you're tired right now, it's a sign that you're close. If you feel like you've got nothing left, it's because you're almost at the finish line. Don't let exhaustion make you surrender a victory that's already written with your name on it. You don't have to see the whole path to keep moving. You don't need to feel strong